Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll give it just 1 minute as folks are coming in from the wait room and as I make all of our speakers co-hosts. Just appreciate your patience for a moment. Yes, please do feel free to introduce yourself in the chat while we wait to get started. I have a few more people coming in.
You're muted on.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anne Marie Hart Bookbinder. I manage food security programs here at the Montgomery County Food Council, and welcome everyone to our July Food Security Community Call. This month, we are hosting jointly with our friends at the Prince George's County Food Equity Council. So I want to extend a warm welcome to my colleague, Julia Groenfeldt, and I believe Heaven Jordan will probably be joining us as well. And welcome to all of the food assistance providers and community organizations from Prince George's County that are joining us today. Today's call is focused exclusively on cold storage, which we know is of great interest to our food assistance providers. And we're going to kick things off with what the Food Equity Council and the Food Council are working on in this space. So to get things started, and while I finish up a few things in the agenda and share that in the chat, I'm going to turn things over to Julia. Welcome and thanks.
Great, thanks so much, Anne Marie. Good to be here. Good to see many familiar faces, some new faces. I'm Julia Groenfeldt. I'm a program manager at the Prince George's County Food Equity Council. So we are a food policy council in Prince George's County, kind of do similar work to our friends at Montgomery County. So it's really nice to be here and collaborate on this call since we've also been hosting kind of very similar calls for the past few years. So it's nice to join forces a little bit. I am going to talk a little bit about very briefly the work that we do at the Food Council and then the work that we've done with cold storage specifically. And I'm just going to pull up a couple brief slides just to show what I'm talking about and give you a, oops, 1 second, give you a picture of some of the cold storage trailers that we've worked on. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Cool. Okay, so like I mentioned, I work with the Prince George's County Food Equity Council. My colleague Heaven Jordan is also here and works on many of these projects and initiatives with me. So we are a food policy council focused in the county. Very simply, we help residents in the county grow, sell, and choose healthy food. We were founded in 2013. And we are incubated within our home nonprofit, which is the Institute for Public Health Innovation, which is my employer, and has been the home nonprofit of the Food Equity Council since we were founded. We focus our work on 3 bucket areas: growing food and preserving farmland, equitable access to healthy food, and strengthening the local economy. I'm not going to go into any details on these. We have a number of work groups similar to how Montgomery County structures things. Happy to share more information at a later date, or feel free to check out our website. But I just wanted to share these bucket areas to kind of illustrate where the cold storage work fits in. So kind of fits into this middle bucket area of supporting equitable access to healthy food. Within that bucket area, we've worked on a number of initiatives to support food assistance providers in the county by hosting kind of a monthly call series, providing technical assistance and support, and really just kind of listening to food assistance providers and food pantries, hearing about their needs, hearing about their challenges, and trying to figure out some solutions to address those. And so that kind of led us to working on cold storage. At the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, we really noticed and heard again and again from food assistance providers that they just didn't have the proper cold storage infrastructure to store and distribute food. You probably already know this, so I don't need to go into too many details, but lack of cold storage infrastructure has been really, really problematic for many food pantries. So if a food assistance provider didn't have proper cold storage infrastructure, maybe they would have to turn down a large donation, right? That they just didn't have the proper space or storage to store. Or potentially they would accept a donation, right? And then it would go bad, and that would lead to, additional food waste because it couldn't be properly stored. So kind of all of these challenges were at play. Many county food assistance provider kind of missed out on a lot of food that they really needed, because many food pantries are continuing to serve record-breaking numbers of clients, and so bringing in more food and having proper infrastructure to support the pantries and the clients they serve is really, really crucial. And so we were seeing these needs, we're hearing these challenges, and we heard from some partners in Prince George's County at Seed and Passion and Compassion that they were working with Kaiser Permanente to purchase cold storage trailers at their facilities. So we learned about this project. We were like, wow, that is really, really cool. We would love to do something similar and kind of replicate this process. And so we were able to work with those partners, hear about what they were working on. And then we received funding from Washington Gas in 2020 to help us purchase 3 trailers in the county. So those were sited at SHABACH in Landover, at Trinity Church of God in Lanham, and Key to Karma in Brandywine. And we worked with Pastor Ben, who you'll hear from in a little bit from Passion and Compassion, to kind of help us support that project, because he is very knowledgeable in the cold storage space. And then this year in 2023, very recently, we actually got additional funding from Washington Gas to purchase 2 more cold storage units, which are now sited at Kingdom Global and Tabernacle Church of Laurel. And so you're going to hear from partners about this project specifically, so I'm not going to go into details, but I did want to just flip through some slides to just show you a little bit of kind of a visual of what these trailers look like. We were able to work with a partner, with an artist, to paint the trailers. So they're incredibly beautiful. They're works of art. So I'll just flip through some slides to give you a sense of what these look like. So this is the one at SHABACH. This is the one in Lanham at Trinity. This is the one in Brandywine. A lot of them have quotes on them. Also the one in Brandywine. And this is taken just last week from the ribbon cutting for one of the new trailers at Kingdom, who you'll also hear from. So this is us cutting the ribbon in front of the trailer, which is also painted by that same artist, Whitney Frazier. And then this is the one that is freshly painted, still in the process of getting painted, at Tabernacle in Laurel. So this one, they're going to put some quotes and some logos on there. So this one's still getting worked on. So yeah, that's kind of all I really wanted to share with you, just to give you a little visual, and you'll hear from both kind of experts working on this, from Pastor Ben, from our partners, more in depth about their experience. But we've been really happy and excited to work on this initiative and bring these cold storage trailers to light. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Always happy to chat cold storage, and looking forward to hearing the presenters today.
Julia, thank you so much. I'm going to turn things over now to Catherine Nardi, who's going to share on behalf of the Montgomery County Food Council about what we've been doing here.
Hey there. Thanks so much for having me speak today. Sorry, I have some background noise. I am out of town, so working from a remote location. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So my name is Catherine Nardi. I wear a couple different hats that I know some of you through, but I am working as a consultant with the Montgomery County Food Council on a cold storage and shared use kitchen project at the Agricultural History Farm Park. So we have also received funding from Washington Gas. That was in a grant that was received last fall to support the establishment of some infrastructure over at the Ag History Farm Park, where there is an existing kitchen space in the basement of the activities building. And there is a decent amount of land. If you've ever been out there, you know that there are a lot of different projects supporting our local food system, whether it be through the Master Gardeners, University of Maryland Extension, or through the Office of Agriculture. So we felt that that would be a perfect location to house this shared use space so that farmers could connect with local food assistance providers potentially in an easier way. We could connect with Montgomery County Public Schools and support farm to school programming in an easier way, and also so that farmers would have additional economic opportunities through being able to prepare or cut and wash produce, or otherwise turn their products into value add products for distribution to the local retail and wholesale network. And so we have had a number of meetings with Montgomery Parks to move this project along, because the Parks Department does oversee the Agricultural History Farm Park space. And so we are kind of at the point now of being able to, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, finalize the purchase of a cold storage trailer that will be, again, hopefully placed at the Agricultural History Farm Park. We don't have anything signed and ready to go to finalize this project because there are some legal hoops to jump through with ensuring proper use of the space and securing a historical area work permit, and also just ensuring ADA accommodations and that the space is accessible to everyone that should be able to use it, that it is safe and secure from those who maybe should not be able to access the spaces because it is in a public space. So once we have all those permissions, we will go ahead and move forward with the purchase of a cold storage trailer. I'm sorry, I don't have any slides like Julia's to share, because we don't have anything really to show you pictures of quite yet, hopefully soon. But we're looking at purchasing about a 20-foot long cold storage trailer that could be kept with a keypad or other sort of security device for allowing access in and out of the space to permitted users. And then that would be kind of co-located close by to the entrance to the shared use kitchen space, again, in the bottom of the activities building, which would similarly have a keypad or other similar device to ensure security and accessibility to permitted users. We'll also be working with the producers who are interested in using the space so that they can secure a ServSafe food safety manager's license. That is required in all shared use or licensed commercial kitchen spaces in Montgomery County as per DHHS. So we'll be continuing to work with the Office of Agriculture to make sure that all the users have the licenses they need to ensure food safety. And then kind of the third phase of this is working with Montgomery County Public Schools, working with the Food Council's network of MoCo-made producers, of buyers, and ensuring that the products that are prepared in the kitchen can be connected to Montgomery County residents.
Catherine, thank you so much. And Julia, thank you again. It was great seeing pictures of those beautiful painted trailers. And obviously we look forward to when we can have one of those in Montgomery County. I think what, you can hear, especially from Catherine's presentation, is that, obviously this is a broader interest than to just food assistance providers. But so I think there's a lot of wealth of information that we'll be able to kind of share throughout the food system as these projects move forward, that we can all learn from. I know that Catherine is not able to stay with us for the entirety of the call. So if anyone has any questions for her or for Julia, about kind of what's going on in the separate counties, feel free to raise your hand or put those in the chat. If you think of one later for Catherine, we'll be sure to get it her way and get an answer back to you. But does anyone have any questions before we move forward? All right, I don't see anything. So I am going to turn things over now to Amy Bachman, who is with DC Central Kitchen. And as luck would have it, they have been hosting a working group on just this subject for the past number of months. And she's here to share about that resource with us today. Thank you so much, Amy, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys. And I'll share, you want me to share my screen with the PowerPoint?
That would be great. Yeah,
Okay.
I just
Yeah,
make you co-host.
absolutely. All right. Great. Okay, well, hi, everybody. My name is Amy Bachman. I think I probably know some of you guys from other working groups, but thanks for having me here. So yeah, I wanted to share just a little bit about this working group that we did just really start just at the end of 2022 to really focus on this issue of cold storage and the challenge that so many, not just nonprofits, but other businesses and food hubs and anyone really in the hospitality food space, it deals with just a lack of it, not having enough, and trying to understand the logistics behind getting the correct cold storage and how to implement it in your organization. And so we've had 3 meetings so far as part of this working group, and our general goal listed here is really, to create a network of food system organizations and small businesses with needs or experiences regarding cold storage so that we together can ensure that there is equitable access to healthy foods throughout the DC region.
Sorry, Amy, we can see your slides, but they haven't advanced. So.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Maybe I have to do it on here. Did that?
There you go. Yep.
Change? Okay, I guess I do it over here. Okay, I was doing it like in the thing. Yeah, so there's our goal outlined. So yeah, really looking to just kind of bring groups together. And a lot of our initial meetings have been very much about trying to get the landscape of who needs cold storage in the region, who has it, and really what the volume of needs are, where the gaps are. So some of our first calls were really about assessing that landscape. Did a few surveys to truly try to understand, who said they needed more, and if they needed more, what kind of size are we talking about? Is the need for reach-in refrigerators and standard fridges? Are we looking at units like were shown in the last presentation? And we definitely saw a variety of answers, although I feel like a common thing coming up in our working group was these sort of freestanding refrigeration trailers and how really useful those can be. So that was so interesting to hear that's been a solution in some other counties. And I think, we might be reaching out to you to present to the working group, because I think people will be really interested to see and hear how those trailers got installed and have more questions about that, because that kind of access that you can kind of drop into a space seems to be something that would really help different groups in the network that we've been creating. So these are some of the objectives, as a working group we've outlined, identifying the challenges, sharing best practices, really being a place for network sharing. So doing things like if somebody has a great vendor that they've worked with, sharing that contact information, sharing the vendor. If people come across free refrigerators or refrigerators for sale, having it be a space to kind of share that type of information, through the network. And so just to back up a second of sort of why this working group even exists, we started the group it really initially came across as a grant that Morningstar Foundation gave to DC Central Kitchen in 2022, supporting much of our work around food access. But specifically, one part of that grant was to start this working group. So the Morningstar Foundation is a small family foundation based in Bethesda, with really focusing on food access and healthy eating. And specifically, they launched an initiative in the last year called the Food Gap Project, that really looks to get to more sustainable solutions to food insecurity. And part of that is really looking at cold storage as a priority area. So as a grantee, part of their, in addition to funding some of our work, was to say, hey, help us create this working group so we can really try to understand who needs cold storage in the area and how can we best support that. So the working group is a partnership between us and the Morningstar Foundation. And then we really went through all of our networks of nonprofits and other groups that we thought could be involved and should be involved with kind of a big blanket invite, and then kind of have continued to to lead the group, as we've now had 2 more meetings after that. So yeah, we've had about 50 unique organizations and individuals join the meetings, average about 25 per meeting. And as I said, we've had about 3 meetings so far. You can see that there's really a wide range of types of groups that are a part of this working group. This is the small sector of who actually responded to the survey, but at least just show the breadth of, we have a decent amount of nonprofits and food recovery works, but also some, businesses and schools and food hubs and places like that, to really have a shared, variety of interests. And yeah, in terms of action items so far of what we've accomplished, it has been a lot of that knowledge sharing. We've done some working groups where we've had different organizations present about their experience installing cold storage, in their facility. One such group was Latin American Youth Center recently got a large scale fridge that they were able to now take in fresh produce. And so talking kind of their journey of how that came about and what that looked like to install it. And those are the kinds of presentations and things that we want to continue to be able to do. Additionally, it's the working group has also been a resource for some grant related information to be shared. So we have the Morningstar Foundation has a good partnership with Capital Impact Partners, and they have a series of grants called the Keeping It Cool grants that they've been releasing that specifically are to fund cold storage needs. So the working group, it's sort of been a place for us to be able to advertise those kind of grants and get that information out for nonprofits wanting to figure out how they can afford cold storage options and have, these grant information available to those groups. So that's really, it's very much a group that's learning kind of its footing of where we want to be and how we want to continue to expand it. We plan to have our next meeting in the fall. And we'll hope to continue, expanding to groups. It's mostly been DC area nonprofits. So definitely an open call for those, in Montgomery County or Prince George's County, if they're interested in joining. I did put my contact information at the end of the slide to reach out to me. I manage the listserv for it. We'd love to hear kind of what some of the other groups are doing outside of DC and how we can collaborate or learn from you all of successes, or even just coming to learn what people in DC are up to, and trying to just have access to cold storage be more spread around, because we know can be such a barrier sometimes for groups who are looking to distribute more food or bring in more food, especially fresh produce. It can be one of those top barriers. So excited to just hear that other people are really thinking about it. And again, please reach out to myself if you want to learn more about how to be involved in this specific working group, where everyone's welcome. So I hope to have some more people join us for our next meeting.
Thanks so much, Amy.
Yeah.
A couple of questions. So first, I appreciate Michelle Caruso reading my mind as always, and wanting to know if you are engaging with the DC Food Policy Council on this work as well.
Yes, we have had at least invitations sent to them. I'm trying to think if anyone's joined any of our calls yet, but we definitely will continue. I'm involved with some of the working groups for the Food Policy Council, the Sustainable Supply Chain Working Group. So that's a group that I'm tied into to try to at least get members from them to join. And if anything kind of has to do with policy issues that, for at least for council to be aware of, like challenges or funding challenges, definitely, I think we can continue to do more to really get them involved, and probably as a working group figure out, like, are there specific asks or are there specific bills or things that we want to really be tied into? I think that could be something for this next year to really think about.
Yeah. We also have 2 similar questions in the chat, and I'd say these are open to you, Amy, as well as to anyone else on the call who may be familiar with this. But looking about information about solar panel operated refrigerators and freezers, and wanting to know if there are any grants or initiative to support those needs. And also if anyone has a sense of how much it costs to hook a trailer up to solar. So I know that's something that Julia and I tried finding speakers for on this call. It seemed a little challenging. We ran into some folks who had looked into it, but weren't able to follow through on that option. So if anyone knows of anything that they can share, that would be great.
Yeah, I don't specifically know anything on that, but I can definitely bring that to, that thought and that question to our next meeting, because that's a great question.
Thank you.
And yeah, for the question about, I just saw one came through about if we focus mostly on DC or take a regional approach, it has been more focused on DC to start. But as I said, we've only been 3 meetings in, so I think we are definitely open to, it sounds, especially hearing that there's work already being done in Montgomery County and Prince George's County, I think regional would be great to get those perspectives. So I probably will be connecting with you all before our next fall call to figure out how we could kind of learn a little bit more from each other, especially since regional in this area is so small. Like we're all right near each other. There's so much overlap that happens between the counties. So I think that could be a great way for us to go.
I think what's great too is we already have a number of partners, some of which we're going to hear from later, who are already internally coordinating on shared cold storage. So I think, thinking about that next step about how to do that on a regional level, because as we learn, not everyone needs cold storage 24/7, but so there are many opportunities to share and, kind of make the most efficient use of that. I see a question in the chat about any grant opportunities in Prince George's County. Julia, I'll leave that to you if you are familiar with any, but I'm sure Julia is already sharing those out as they receive word about that. But if there's anything I'm neglecting, feel free to jump in, Julia.
Not that I know specifically for cold storage, but my colleague Kevin Jordan has been doing an awesome job sending out resources and funding opportunities. So keep your eyes out for her emails that she sends out every Friday, because it's like a wealth of information on resources and funding opportunities.
Yeah,
and if you're not on our listserv, you can just drop your email in the chat and I'll add you.
Yeah. And I'll say the same for Montgomery County. As soon as we learn about that information, we're sharing it out in our newsletter or through our distribution lists. So yeah, please read those emails when they go out, because they're chock full of whatever grant information we are learning about. Amy, thank you so much. I know your time is a little limited today as well, so we appreciate you being here. If anyone has any other questions to follow up, we're happy to get them Amy's way if she's not with us later. But we look forward to working more closely with you on this in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I am going to turn things over now to Pastor Ben Slye to kind of give us the 101, excuse me, on cold storage setup. Pastor Ben, welcome. I saw him join the call.
He's there.
Everybody, I don't have my picture up there. I'm actually driving down the road with my wife driving, so we're safe. But Julia, tell me a little bit about how in depth you would like me to talk and what kind of talking points that you wanted me to cover today.
Sure. Yeah. So before you jumped on, I just shared a really brief overview of the work that we've done to set up the 5 trailers. But I did not go into any kind of details or specifics. So I think it would be great if you could share more about what your role has been kind of getting your own trailer up and running, as well as providing kind of capacity support for the 5 trailers that we've done, and kind of any kind of key information that you think organizations should know if they're interested in getting their own trailer.
Okay, that's great. Well, this really first started back in 2011. Our food program went from serving 25 to 30 families to hundreds of families a week. And we had K-Fritz Enterprises purchase us a 53-foot refrigeration trailer because of the amount of food, fresh produce, and fruit that we were distributing throughout Prince George's County and beyond. And then from that, several years ago, Kaiser Permanente wanted to pilot our program, and they purchased us 2 53-foot trailers for our property. We donated our other trailer to one of our Prince George's County partners. And then after that, we had Washington Gas, all of this through Julia and Sydney. They kind of brought me on board to pilot our programs throughout Prince George's County. So my role was to research the space, make sure the space has enough room for refrigerated trailers, for trucks or tractor trailers to back up to that trailer. So when thinking about purchasing a large refrigeration trailer, you gotta, first of all, think about space. Do you have the space to plant the trailer and then they operate the large vehicles to back up to those trailers? So that's kind of like number one. And then number two, you gotta have three-phase power. You don't have three-phase power, you don't have enough power to operate that large storage unit. And so those are kind of the first two things if you're thinking about if you have need for large storage space, even a 20-foot trailer, you're going to need three-phase power. So, you know, so those are the first two things you have to put in place. So they hired me. I was purchasing the trailers. I found a trailer company in Baltimore that we've been working with. We have purchased 8 53-foot refrigeration trailers from them in the last several years. And so then it's just really, you know, finding the right partners. The first time we went around with the first 3 trailers from Washington Gas, we were looking for pretty much large food programs that, you know, you don't want to get a 53-foot trailer or even a 20-foot trailer if you're only doing produce, you know, twice a year at the holidays. This is really for those programs that are pushing out massive amounts of food that you want to keep the integrity of the food, you know, at the highest level. So once we, you know, determined the 3 places, we determined 2 places because they had massive amount of food. And then we determined the 3rd place down in the south part of the county that was literally a food desert. And we ended up sending 2 trailers to that location. And then, you know, we again got hired by Food Equity Council to put these last 2 trailers. Now, these last 2 trailers were not only piloting the fact of cold storage, but it was piloting the program of shared space. So I heard a lot about that earlier. And so this is a very important pilot that we're doing, seeing how 2 large food programs can share, you know, a 53-foot trailer. It's going to present some challenges, but it also presents to them the ability to, you know, store their food for, you know, days at a time, which is really important for these programs. And so we did this year. We really, I think, Julia, we started out wanting to put 4 20-foot, and somebody mentioned a 20-foot trailer. Only thing I would say to you is good luck, because we could not find a 20-foot trailer, refrigeration trailer anywhere. And so these ideas of not only keeping the integrity of the food, sharing food spaces, being able to store, massive amounts of food to be able to give out. A lot of times, most of the people on this call, if you do a food program, you get food in, you got to immediately, the food storage, so you want to think about it. How are you going to do your distribution? Who's all going to be involved? The opportunity of disseminating the food right in that trailer to keep the integrity of the food, at the highest level. So if you're thinking about cold storage, you have to think, really strong about space, 3-phase, and really the need. Like some people, I need a cold storage trailer, but they're only doing, 2 major distributions a year. And then I would just tell that organization, just rent a refrigerated truck, during that time and use that. So we have worked the system with Julia and her team, coming up with all the steps that need to be taken, the responsibilities that that each program needs to share with Food Equity Council, and all the steps of, you know, how to use the storage trailer, safety measures, and all of those things. So we do have a lot of things, Julie, that you could share, you know, we have written, that we have spent time on to develop the systems and the responsibilities of each of the programs. But Julie, I don't know how much more, if I even covered what you want me to cover, but is there anything else you want me to talk about?
I think that was great. I'll just echo that. I'm happy to share any of the materials that we put together. It's been on my long to-do list to kind of package it up into a little bit more of a toolkit, but we do have all that information about kind of the requirements that are necessary for a cold storage partner, and all that info. So I can definitely share that out. So Anne-Marie, I think that was great. If you want to open it up to questions, I'll pass it over to you.
I think that would be great. Pastor Ben, thank you so much. And Julia, if you want to share with me any of those documents today. So for those of you who don't normally join us on the Montgomery County Food Council calls, I always follow up the next day or two after with a resource email with all of the slides, contact information for speakers, and any resources that were shared in a recording of the call in an email. So Julia, if you are comfortable giving me, sending me those documents, I can include those in that resource email so everyone has it in one space. Yes, please, if you have questions from anything that Pastor Ben discussed before we move on to other speakers, we are happy to take them now. We've got plenty of time, and we purposely wanted this call to be open to you to ask your questions and really learn about this subject. So feel free. I do see, while we're waiting for folks, I see some comments in the chat from Pat Drumming, stressing that you want to make sure that you have asphalt or concrete bed for the trailer to go on, or else it's going to sink into the ground. Yes, those are incredibly, they're incredibly heavy pieces of equipment. So definitely. And to make sure that you are not trying to place the unit in an environmentally protected space. All good things to keep in mind. Pastor Ben also mentioned about thinking about the capacity that you really needed and how many times a year you were doing things. I don't want to put her on the spot because I just saw that she joined and she may not be able to turn her camera on, but Dana from Mum, she and I had a conversation recently where we were talking about the need for a permanent truck. And she had mentioned that she was renting refrigerated trucks for her distributions, and that was actually working out really well for her because she didn't have to worry about where she was parking it outside of her distribution dates. That they actually managed to keep things really cold overnight. And so it kind of met her needs. So Dana, if there was anything else from that conversation that you wanted to share, just as people think through their needs, feel free to unmute or put something in the chat. Like I said, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just remembered our conversation. She may not be in a position to join us, but hopefully I did not misrepresent.
Sorry.
Oh, there she
No,
is.
that's great. And no, apologies. I'm driving, so I can't. But yeah, no, I think really thinking about whether you want to invest in something that may require maintenance and storage and all those things versus renting. We don't rent a refrigerated truck, but we rent a truck.
Okay.
But I also really like the idea of collective of, organizations doing that together, because most of us don't have distributions like several times a week, and so I think that's something for people that are maybe in the same geographical areas to look at how could we perhaps collaborate to have a place to collectively store, keep food cold if we don't have enough refrigeration.
Thanks, Dana. All right, I don't see any. Oh, Massa, great.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. I have a question for Julia. This has just been really a great discussion and super informative. I feel like you all in Prince George's are a few steps ahead of us with your cold storage projects. That's just a great learning experience for us here in Montgomery County. And I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about kind kind of, where your role as food council sort of ended in terms of the operation of the units and sort of who kind of takes management of kind of the day-to-day, keeping it open, scheduling, et cetera. Is that something that you passed off to each individual site, or are you still involved with that work?
Yeah, great question. We are a very small team and do not have the capacity to run the day-to-day operations of a cold storage unit. So that is all on the organizations that own and host that trailer, right? So we were involved in the setup. So we worked very closely with Pastor Ben to, help purchase the trailers, to get them all set up with electrical work, to work on the painting process, all that. And then there's been kind of some extended work with the cold storage organizations. So, we've worked with them to kind of get some information on, the amount of clients that they've been serving pre and post. So some of that pre and post trailer data. And then also all of the trailers that we've helped site, we've required that the partners who have received this trailer, right, that they work with a network of partners that share that space, right? So it's one organization that is technically the owner of the trailer, but then they set up MOUs with, 3 to 5 other organizations that are using that space in addition. So it's really kind of a community resource. And it's not just that one organization that is hosting that trailer. They are in charge of all the day-to-day operations, making sure they're paying for it. There's somebody there that can operate it and open it and all of that. So that's all in their hands. And what we've just done is kind of the setup, and then we pass it all over to them.
Okay, thanks, Julia.
One of the things that came up in Catherine's presentation that I was just wondering if anyone who's presented already has an answer to, she had mentioned about access and security around the trailers. Julia, is that something any of your providers who own those trailers? Because I know a lot of them are probably in public space as well. What solution did providers use for that?
Yeah, that's something maybe we can ask during the panel. I know different organizations have structured it in different ways. Sometimes there's typically I think one main person that's kind of in charge of opening and closing the trailer and being there when partners need to come in and, to take or receive distributions. So that kind of handles that. I know some of the organizations have put cameras on their trailers for security reasons. So yeah, I don't have a ton of information. I know that different partners have structured it in different ways, but I'd love to hear a little bit more during the panel.
Great. All right, I don't see any new questions. So we are going to move on now to our guest, Benny Erez from, I'm sorry, I did see a question there, but I'll come back, from Echo City Farms. And I think we are all going to be taken on a little tour visually by his camera. So someone driving to show us something, and hope you stay safe. But welcome, Benny. Oh, Benny, you froze for a moment. Okay. And I just need you to unmute.
Okay.
Oh. Yep, there you are, Benny.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is Benny from Echo City Farms, and I'm going to turn the camera over, and I'm going to show you where we are and what we do. So we are an actual farm, and we are raising vegetables, and these are our cucumbers that we're raising, you could see. And over here we have a shipping container, which is also our kitchen. And I'm going to walk right through it, and I'm going to show you what the kitchen looks like. And on the other side, we have a cooling unit, and that's the cooling unit. And I'll walk right into it. It's a small cooling unit, using an air conditioner. The air conditioner for time, and then right now the temperature in the unit is 37 degrees. And we can store lots of different things in here to keep it as if it was a regular refrigerator. Can you hear me still?
Yes. Yes. we
Okay,
can.
very good. This refrigerator is installed in a 40 feet shipping container that was used on as a food storage and a cooling unit. You can see that the walls are insulated, but there is more insulation into this little tiny here with the.
I'm sorry, Benny, you broke up just for a second. I think the doorway of that
Okay.
room is a bad spot.
Stepping out.
Yep.
The nice thing about this air conditioner is that it could keep things at refrigerator temperature and pretty safe to put all sorts of stuff in here. So this is one unit that we have on the farm. We also have a second unit next door, which is a full shipping container that is divided in half, also using an air conditioner. And here, the temperature is a little higher because we have needs for two separate temperatures. One is lower than the other. And this is a cheap way to get reduction in temperature on a scale that a farm could use with an air conditioner. As you can see, the temperature that the air conditioner can get to is 60, but I could bring it down to 50 or even lower to 36 or 35. So this is a very simple way of doing it. It doesn't cost a whole lot. And it's really economical for a little farm like ours to be able to cool things and keep cool things until we send it to the market. I'll go back to the other side and we can talk more. We have a couple of farms, and I'm going to shift back. We have a couple of farms, and in one of the other farms that we have something which is called it's called a SHABACH. And a SHABACH is a unit that we purchased. I can't show you that because I'm not there. But it doesn't need three-phase like others. It doesn't need a three-phase electricity. It can work on 240. So you can look into that as well. If people want to know more about our system, obviously they can talk to me. I'll give you my number. It's 301-655-5462, and we can get it from Julia. Just to show you back again. This is SHABACH.
Oh, Benny, I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
Okay. So that's about it here. If you have any questions, you can shoot.
Benny, that is so cool. First of all, I'm checking to see some questions. I don't see any in the chat yet, but please share them if you have them. If anyone wants to come off camera and raise their hand. Oh, I see Daniela.
Hey, I'm big fan of Benny. Bravo, Benny!
Just wanted to ask you, he's like the Mexicans I know, like full of like creativity. He made these shipment containers. Benny, I put the link of the storage code for the cool board on the link, but I wanted to ask you because there was a question here before about solar panels, and I know you have awesome solar panels on your compost bins. So have you ever powered your cooling units with solar? And can you speak about that if you have it in the plans in the future? Thank you. Benny, you're muted.
Give him a second to maybe come on.
Here we go.
There we go.
Good. I'm back. Yes, we do have we have two separate installation of solar systems, and we're running some fans on them, making compost. But in order to run an air condition, you really need to get a bigger unit or more panels. Actually, that's doable. We actually got a grant from Let's Cool It, or I forget the name exactly. And we're probably going to do some of it. There's always a possibility in case of let's say 3-4 days without solar, that you can alternately move it to the grid. And by you doing this, you're going to save all the food that's in the cooler. It's not going to be a situation where you can run it solely on solar without really being on top of it. So that's something that I'd like to add into this mix. But it's possible. It's definitely possible to run a system like ours, a small system like ours that does not require a hell of a lot of electricity. And this is a really small unit here. Yeah.
Thank you, but you call it small because you are humble. Can you share how many CSAs or how many pounds you move through your system?
I can't really give you, but we have had 100 members or 120 members of the CSA. So every week there's plenty of food stored in there. It's only stored for like 2 days or 3 days because we keep it as fresh as possible. So we harvest the food immediately, put it in the cooler, and then distribute it as soon as possible. Okay.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much. And I did want to share, or be sure to point out that Lorian from our staff shared in the chat. The Food Council is actually hosting a tour in person. If you enjoyed this video presentation so much, you'd like to see it in real time. On July 19th from 10 to 12, Echo City Urban Farm will be hosting the Food Council for a tour, and there is a link if you would like to join us to please register. And so that's open to any of the providers on this call today. We'd love to see you there. Benny, thank you so much, and hopefully we'll get to meet you in person on the 19th.
Thank you. We'll see you all here. Bye-bye.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, moving along. We are going to turn things over now to a bunch of our other local providers who have been participating, I guess, in the cold storage journey and sharing their experience with us. We have Dorothy Price. Dorothy, is Martha also here? I wasn't sure if I had seen her on the call. From the SHABACH Emergency Resource Center.
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Oh, great, wonderful, perfect. Martha, welcome, thank you. We also have Reverend Kendra from Kingdom Cares, our East County hub. And we have Pat Drumming from Rainbow Community Development Center. So we still have a bunch of time, a bunch of information to share. And I think the way Julia and I kind of structured this section was a little bit like a panel discussion. So as long as that works for you all, I think that's how we'll proceed, and we'll just see what questions arise from your presentation. So thank you so much for joining us today. So first, I think we were just looking to hear, what type of cold storage system do you have? How long have you had it? And how did you obtain the resources to purchase that system? So our friends from Prince George's County, you're our guests. So Dorothy and Martha, why don't you kick us off?
Thank you. Bringing greetings to you from SHABACH Emergency Resource Center, from our manager, Gwen Pope, who's on vacation, and Martha and I, we're here holding it down until she returns. Our cold storage has truly been a blessing to us. We have reached 25 to 35% more clients. We're able to share, like someone was saying, with other partners. They're able to use our cold storage for a short period of time. We're able to store more fruits and vegetables and other things that needs to be in the refrigerator. We also have partnered with Pastor Ben, who has been a great influence and help with us for getting the cold storage here at SHABACH. And SHABACH is ministry of First Baptist Church of Glen Arden. And we're located in one of the low-income areas of Prince George's County. So we have a lot of townhouses up the street and down the street, around the corner in different places apart, and we pick up quite a few refugees who just came into country. So not only that, but with the senior citizens that has been cut from the SNAP programs and all the other ones that goes along with that, like the social service, also we provide service to them and to our local communities, single parents, senior citizen, different things like that. But it has made our job a lot easier by having the cold storage, our trailer, because we're able to roll in pallets instead of having to carry it in, which makes it easier to work with. Okay.
If any questions you didn't answer, how long have you had it?
About 2 years.
Yeah.
We've had it for about 2 years, and Martha is the one who do keep the keys for to the cold storage in case somebody wants to use it or somebody wants to come and get their produce from it. And we are in total responsible for it and to keep the upkeep of it and everything. So that's how come there's only one person controlling the key. And if she's out of pocket, then it will go to Gwen or myself. So we know who's going in and who's coming out. And we do have a camera that's pointing at the door. So we do know when and where people are going in and coming out. So all those things are truly benefit, and you really need those things. Am I leaving anything out?
Was there any questions that Dorothy didn't answer?
I think since you touched on some of the other ones we had for later already, I'll just kind of wrap up here. Anything, before you entered this process that you wish you had known, kind of lessons learned, advice you would share about this with any of the other providers on the call today?
Well, I'm not certain if the information wasn't known, but something I didn't think about was the maintenance. It is a machine. It's possible that it will break down and have to be repaired, that sort of thing. So I don't know why, but I didn't think about it until it happened.
I tell you, July and August are not our most friendly months for us, if you know what I mean. So we do have a refrigerator truck on speed dial in case something happens to our cold storage here at SHABACH.
And we did have something happen a couple of weeks ago. And sometime, well, we've had a couple of occasions where there was a breakdown in the system. And I don't know if it's because of the vendor that we use, but it took, I would say on the average a week to get repaired. I believe it's because of the particular part that was needed that had to be ordered.
Yes.
So it's something to keep in mind. Yeah, it's a machine, it will break down and need maintenance. So you would have to have another option in those cases. Yeah. But
I'm
all in
also-
all, I mean, it's,
And
I was gonna say, all in all, it's still worth it. Yeah.
And we don't see
also
how we were
assuming
able to.
You mentioned July and August. I'm guessing those are not friendly months for your electric bill during that time as well. You probably see some.
And because the truck is running to me twice as hard in those months because it's really hot in July and August.
Yep.
So usually if it's going to break down, it's going to be in one of those months. But we are so grateful to have it. I don't know how we survive without it.
Well, it's helped us to increase, the amount of food we're able to store and things like that, the amount of people that we can reach. So, yeah. So before we were, using, let's see, how only able to have so much based on how many people that we could reach. But now, since we have it, we're able to reach more. So that's how we were able to get by before. Yeah.
We are open 5 days a week. And we also go out into the community maybe once or twice a month. So it has truly been a blessing to us for the storage that we've been able to use with it.
Right. I see Carla Cash has her hand raised before we hear from Pat and Reverend Kendra. Carla?
Yes, I just wanted to add a couple things to it because we have one of the trailers and we do have the security cameras on there, but also because our trailer went out and we didn't know that it went out, we keep a full tank of gas in it now, the diesel gas in it, so that in the event something goes off, it'll automatically kick over to the gas. So that was something. And yeah, you do the maintenance after every use, we get it cleaned out. So those are a couple of other things.
Thanks, Carla. And Julia's hand went up right after you said that. So I think she has something to add to.
No, yeah, I just wanted to jump in on the maintenance issue. I'm glad that you guys brought that up because that's a key piece of this. And so the SHABACH partners and Carla, we're all partners with our 2021 round of cold storage units. We definitely learned a lot from then, and then now with the new trailers in 2023. So Reverend Smith, you're welcome. And one thing that we now emphasized in kind of our second round was, making sure that the partners knew of the maintenance required and had funding available to cover the cost of the maintenance. And so Anne Marie can send out the questions that we asked the applicants who are interested in hosting a trailer, but one of them specifically is kind of making sure that they know, that they do have to cover that, and that also that there's that they need to do this twice a year. They need to do kind of that pre-maintenance work on an ongoing basis to make sure that the trailer can keep running. So yeah, hopefully, there's always going to be things that we're going to learn throughout this process, but that's definitely one of them.
And also insurance, because we have insurance on it, which covers the site as well, and it's very inexpensive.
About those costs and things you hadn't thought about, Randy is asking in the chat about how much per month does it cost to power?
As far as SHABACH is concerned, that might be something my manager knows about. We don't have those numbers.
Hey, hello, this is Pastor Ben.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's averaging around $200 per month. Now that's for us, and we run our trailers constantly. So that's about been the average over these last numbers of years. And so that's what you're looking at. You're not looking at a major expense because the units come on and off according to temperature. So once you put the temperature on, once it gets to that temperature, it'll go off and stay off till it gets 4 degrees above. And then it'll, then it'll come back on. So they're not constantly running, even though the system's on. And secondly, I just wanted to address the statement that Carla made, and hello, Carla, was they're the only unit hi. They're the only unit that we purchased that had diesel and electric. So I don't know, I don't know if I can't remember if SHABACH had diesel, but most of our units were buying electric. And so they don't have the privilege like down South County where they could turn the unit on with the use of diesel, because most of the areas that these units are going in are in environmental areas, and the fumes and things like that, the county or the city or whatever is not going to allow to happen. They're way down there in the boonies, so having some diesel fuel for some reason down there was okay. So $200.
We haven't had to use it yet, Pastor Ben, but in the event.
That's good. And just something to add here that Julia mentioned. Everyone that has a unit, you should set up a pre-maintenance schedule with your provider that you've been given. Multi-Marine is the company that we're using here, in Prince George's County. And so you should definitely have that set up. I have it set up for both my trailers, my refrigeration trucks. I mean, everything is a pre-maintenance schedule. So, when that belt breaks, you're not spending that major amount of money because they've come and tightened up that belt at least twice a year. And I wanted to say this before I hang up or whatever, get off. Whatever we say, is that if you're looking to purchase one of these trailers, I meant to say this when I was speaking, for used trailer, refrigeration trailer is going to be like $20,000. For a new trailer, you better hit a whole lot of grants, because it's going to be like $60,000 to $70,000 for a new refrigerated trailer. Okay, I'm muting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am gonna ask to hear a little now from Reverend Kendra and from Pat Drumming about their experience, and then we can keep the conversation and the questions going. I just want to make sure they have some set time to share what they all have been doing. And I know Reverend Kendra put some slides together. Reverend Kendra, do you want me to bring those up, or do you want to share your screen? Or
if you can, that'll be good. I have a new laptop and my Zoom is acting kind of wacky, so.
No problem. But you just get started chatting and I will get them going.
Sure. Hello, everybody. This has been extremely helpful and greatly appreciative to Julia. Pastor Ben, what can we say? I mean, where would we be without you? I'm telling you, he has been extremely helpful in the expertise, helping us to understand what we're actually getting into. I'm going to talk about our partnership with Rainbow and others, but I entitled it regional because we do have more of a regional approach. And so we work with Prince George's and Montgomery counties. And so we have two different units that we are working with. In Prince George's County, as you've already heard, if you could go back to the Prince George's County trailer, though, I just want to highlight this picture. I was at our food distribution on Saturday, Pat, and I just so happened to have caught this wonderful picture, which really, to me, shows the partnership that we have. So you have Rainbow truck there, picking up food from the trailer. And you can see how beautifully designed it is. We've already talked about that, so I'm not going to go and talk about Whitney and all her great work, and Julie and her team and how they got this together. But I thought this was a really great picture because in addition to being able to have more access for cold storage, our intention, as Julia already mentioned, is that we signed on to have MOUs and have partnerships with other organizations. Pat and I have been working together for about 2.5 years now, and already had established relationship, but we actually created an MOU for our Montgomery County location. I'll talk about that in a minute. We'll do the same for Prince George's County, and we'll be talking about other organizations in Prince George's County that we want to set up MOUs with to be able to access this space. So clearly the intent is to be able to offer this resource and leverage it so that we can have shared storage. And so this is what it looks like. The person that runs and is responsible for managing all of this is Marcus John. He's our hub coordinator, and he's the one who holds the key. I do not hold the key. He holds the key, and Pat has somebody in her team who holds the key for her, and then they work together accordingly to determine pickup and drop-offs, and how much is left in the unit to be used, et cetera. Our unit is going to be a refrigeration and freezer unit. So I thank you again to Pastor Ben, who is helping us purchase a wall that goes in the middle. If I had thought about it, I would have taken a picture of what we have right now. We have a temporary one right now that helps us to have freezer on one side and refrigeration on the other side. We are extremely grateful, as SHABACH said, for the unit. I believe we can get about maybe 20 pallets in there, 15 to 20. One of the challenges though with a trailer is it's one way in, one way out. And so if you are doing freezer and refrigeration, and when you're working with other partners, you do have to have a system and a process for moving food in and moving food out. Because you really literally have to take food from the back into the front. And so you have to coordinate that. And that does take some efforts. I don't want to downplay that at all. I think that one of the aspects of the shared cold storage that Julia spoke to is actually very important. And that is just the administration, the maintenance, and being able to manage the infrastructure of it. Because not only did we have the space, thank God, to put the trailer on, you also have to have the infrastructure and the capacity to coordinate with other organizations. And if those organizations need pickup, we've committed to helping with pickup. If they need drop off, we've committed to helping with drop off. And that actually takes time. It takes time and effort from our team. And so, we're looking at hiring new drivers and making sure that we're able to, have additional staff to be able to support those efforts. Pastor Ben mentioned MOUs, or might have been Julia that talked about the MOUs. I think it was Julia. And so in those MOUs, and Ben, let me know if I'm wrong, there's actually a fee associated with participating because it does cost. It costs gas to go back and forth down the road. Sometimes it costs gas to get a driver temporarily. And so while other organizations will have access to the space, we do want to share the cost of the space as well. And so that's, just a fair partnership. And so that's one component of the shared cold storage that we're going to be moving forward with. And that is working the MOUs with the other organizations that are going to be supporting. We can go to Pat's thoughts, comments around the Prince George's. We obviously received that through a grant. Pat wrote the grant. Pat wrote the grant, and she cited, because Kingdom has a Prince George's County location and we had the space. She wrote the grant and we said, okay, we will put it on our space. And again, that's just partnership. And so, Pat, do you want to share anything around the Prince George's County operation?
I think you're doing a great job already. I can tell you all, I know we go across county lines with this. It has been a blessing for us to have that. As Reverend Kendra said, it is a tremendous amount of work. as she said, moving around pallets, making sure that we're taking what we put in there and leaving stuff for them and getting it back. I know over the last week, we've probably had, I don't know, 10, 15 pallets in there. And it allows us to share not only with Kingdom, but with other groups as well. For the Prince George's leg, I just want to give a shout out because so many of you are my partners as well. Thank you for Carla Cash, and then for also SHABACH over there. SHABACH also goes, when she says they go into the community, they don't just distribute, they go to other housing groups, et cetera, and other organizations that they share with. So their reach is far greater. We have been the great beneficiary oftentimes when they didn't have enough refrigeration for amazing things, you know, fresh oysters, clams, you name it, it's there. So we've been partners for years, and many of you here in Montgomery County. So I think Kendra, she's my role model, so I'm learning from her. And when I grow up, I want to be like her in this arena. So I think it's just been a really great partnership because Pastor Slye, he has been my number one. He connected me actually to SHABACH many years ago. And we have, we still have to take some of our product over there and store it in Riverdale at Passion and Compassion and Christian Life Center with him. And we've actually been able to share for his distribution when we have nobody around that can take it on this. And hi, Keith, how are you? So yeah, it's been a great partnership. As Reverend Kendra said, we could use some more storage space. And I love that picture. Thank you for taking that. Keith just popped his head in. That's my driver. So I wish he could see that. But
I'll share it with you. I'm very quick. I know we have to go. So Montgomery County, someone mentioned D-Grid Energy Solar Cool Cube that I learned about through Pat. Pat has a unit in her space already. That's a cold cube unit. But we did receive a grant from the Greater Washington Community Foundation. It was one of their innovation grants. And Pat and Dr. Cisse from City of Light and myself and Peoples, we all applied. And so, and we received $164,000 from them to do a shared cold storage in Montgomery County. This project, though, has taken much more effort. The trailer is a easier option if you want to, you know, kind of get it moving and get it done. We chose the Cool Cube in Montgomery County because one, it has the capacity to be solar. Two, you can move it easier. Those actually can come down. Three, you can have better access, right? So it's not one way in, one way out. You have side panels, side doors as well. So you can go in, and I don't necessarily have to be challenged with, I have to move something from the back, you know, move something from the front to get to the back, etc. So it is probably a more comprehensive, if that's a word, in cold storage unit, but it takes more time. And so in addition, it takes more funding. So Pat was able to secure a bond bill from Delegate Lorick. She was her sponsor, and that added another $200,000 to this unit in purchase. A bond bill, though, for those of you all who aren't aware, is more like a loan. And so you do have to spend that money in advance, and then they reimburse you. So again, you know, I always say there's no free money. There's always something that's going to be required. And so, but she did get the bond bill. It has been approved. And what we did is we utilized the funding that we received from Montgomery County, Greater Washington Community Foundation, the Montgomery County side, to kind of be our initial source, right? So that allowed us to put the money down for the panels, because this unit is built to spec. So we'll be able to have, and this is not the actual unit itself, I just wanted to show you a picture. I believe our unit will hold 20 pallets. And again, we're using refrigeration and we're using freezer storage space. And so part of the money that we received from the Greater Washington Community Foundation was used to purchase and put a down payment on the panels themselves. So all of that had to be ordered. It has lead times. You all know the supply chain delays are still happening. And so you have to have lead time for that. We have an agreement with Pat. We have an actual MOU for this one already. And then Pat helped to identify the Chi Center, which is now We Achieve, that we're gonna put the unit in. That was a long process to identify where we were going to put it. We thought we had one location, then we had to find another location, and then we ended up with We Achieve. We Achieve is owned by the county, Montgomery County. So in order to put something on that space, you have to do a sublease. And so without going into all the weeds and all the details, that added then another layer of coordination and administration. And then you also have to have permits. And you have to have excavation. And so it's just a longer process. So with that, we're in the process right now. This is the Chi Center. We Achieve, that's on New Hampshire Avenue. It's a great location. We felt it's still in East County, but it also is easy access. And then this aerial view is going to have the pad, the unit is going to be in the back to the right, not too far from their loading dock. And so with that, right now, we're hoping that by September, October, the unit will be ready. Panels, like I said, already ordered. They're coming in August. And now we're working on permits and excavation with Department of DGS with Montgomery County. So 2 different units. They both serve the same purpose. But again, 2 very different process, but that's pretty much it. And this one will be the same. The intent is shared cold storage. So other providers in East County that need to access it will be able to. That's the other reason why we're really pushing to get this done, is because it will support other providers that are in East County that would like to utilize the space. And again, we'll have a similar MOU process to access and all those other types of things. Thank you guys so much. Pat, you want to share anything about Montgomery County and D-Grid? I know that's your group.
Sure, thank you. I think Kendra did an excellent job as always. I do want to say one thing, because those trailers are great, but it is, as she said, a tremendous amount of work. And I just have this thought that popped in my head literally as she was speaking, to make sure that when people get that, you need to make sure that you have a truck that is dock height, etc., so you can back it into there, or you are going to have an interesting experience trying to manually climb up there, make you some steps, unload things for hours. So when you're thinking about your vehicles in conjunction with that, also, it's pretty good to have a lift gate because you can lift pallets up rather than unloading and manually reloading. It's a time saver if you do that. Rainbow, let's see, we have several upright commercial 2-door and 3-door refrigerators in our pantry. Many of them we've had for years. We literally are in the process of replacing some, just got some new ones in last week, but we secured those over the years through private foundation grants and fundraisers. But this past year, we were actually approached by a group, Green of Eyes, in December when everything was crazy, right? Holiday giving on top of the regular work, and asked if they could partner with us. It was an energy efficient program that the state of Maryland was doing to replace older units with newer units through the Maryland Energy Assistance Program. That's been an interesting learning experience as well. And by the way, we didn't know until it was awarded. We were the first one in the state to get this, just got it awarded about 2 weeks ago. So that's how we got we have a walk-in that we secured through D-Grid. And we actually found out about D-Grid through the Montgomery County Food Council back in 2020 when everything was going crazy with the county. It was very interesting to me because we could have solar or we could use the electrical. Ours had to be converted because literally it was designed for solar power, which we could not do here in the space that we have. But I found that with the our electrical bill, it wasn't that much more. Our unit holds 10 pallets comfortably. The guys stuff 12 in there a lot of times. Thankfully, the one that we are doing collaboratively will have space where pallet jacks can go down the middle and have room enough to turn around. That's what we requested. So it's been great. My unit has a tablet that monitors the unit. It'll tell you if there's anything crazy going on with it. We recently, just now for the first time in almost 3 years, started having a little challenge with some condensation freezing over. That might be because I probably didn't have maintenance, as was mentioned several times. So make sure you have the scheduled maintenance in there. Same story with the commercial refrigerators. If you don't have that annual maintenance, you will be paying some big bucks. When you're looking at, even for those of you that are going to buy just the standard upright freezers and commercial refrigeration units, sometimes cheaper is not better. You have to factor in and think about that. One thing we learned over the years, sometimes True is kind of the tried and true brand throughout the country. It's usually you can access more people that know how to repair them, that understand how to repair them, and that can get the parts to repair them. I'd have to say for me, I've not had any problems with Max Cool, which is a Korean brand. I love them because they cool down very quickly. 15 minutes, you got cold or freezer. They also have a little bit larger storage capacity when you have the same size unit. So those are some things that I learned. Let's see, what else did I say? Oh, making sure, I think Carla mentioned it, make sure you do have the insurance, and that when you get your insurance, make sure you have replacement costs, not just the cost of the value of whatever it is at this moment. So sometimes it's better to pay that little bit more. I do encourage you, Kendra and I actually went to see, when we were looking at different options, we actually went to see Living Legends, which I love theirs, but they also have the same thing. We didn't know it's going to take as long, but it was going to take a long time for the parts to come as well. So when you're thinking about those type units, the walk-in that we have, et cetera, also be mindful, make sure and see, do you need to have a permit? We learned that when we were putting in our walk-in. You think, oh, they had to put in another electrical box because we didn't have enough. It couldn't, whatever the amount of amperage that it needed, we couldn't draw from our current electrical box. They had to install another one. And we're panicking because we've got an electrician, and he says, oh, where's your permit? And we went, what permit? We didn't know we needed a permit, right? So the things you learn, also, what else on that? Oh, if you're going to get a unit, which I'm in the process right now of getting another, we need more space. Even with all of this that we're getting, we still need more space. We're going to get a portable unit. Our goal is to be able to share that so that you can go in the community. It can be carried, they tell me, with a regular car, but I don't know, with an SUV or a regular pickup truck, but it'll only hold about 3 or 4 pallets comfortably. But it can run on, you can use your electrical, or you can use a power generator. And if you get a generator, I'm going to encourage you to get one that's costs a lot more, but it's going to be at least 18 hours, because if we bring you 3 or 4 pallets today and your distributions tomorrow, you want that unit to function. And for some of our partners, I know they're not always in a building space, et cetera. So what else also in the last few months, I have to give my shout out to them. I haven't even checked to see if they're on here today, because we can call them last minute. Can you guys come and get 3, 4, 5 pallets and take them now today? And they are very quick, so they can mobilize people pretty quickly. But sometimes they don't have their truck, or we always have to plan for the fact that the lift gate gets stuck and there's a few hours there of manual load time. But all those things you need to think about when you are considering it, and think about your needs, not just now, because for me, in 2020, I had no idea. I thought we were getting a maximum amount of storage space when we could put that many pallets in, not realizing the doors that were going to open to us for even more. And the challenge we found in that, though, is with our partners, because many groups don't serve every day. And it's challenging because sometimes there's so many pallets that we can't keep them here. So we really, really, really want to make sure that our partners are getting storage space. And if you don't, at the very minimum, if you have a truck, you know, I bought used for years, would hope to get a new one in the next couple of years. Make sure you get a reefer unit. That's the cold storage unit on there. And as Sister Kendra mentioned, you know, make sure that you know ahead of time, do I want a unit that does refrigeration and freezer? And I believe Living Legends had both, right, Kendra? Yeah. So make sure you know what you want, and that when you're putting into your budget, that you really ask for what you need. You know, and I always put that caveat in mind that they say, what happens if you don't get all the money or whatever, then I'm going to order a smaller unit, but preferable, get what you need, because we don't know, right? So in 2020, though, we were able to secure that unit through a grant that was offered and announced through the Food Council. And I think it was a combination DHHS and Montgomery County, correct? Anne Marie, I'm not sure if you were around then, but I think it was a combination then. So I think I answered most of the questions there.
You did a phenomenal job answering those questions. And it is 2:30 on the dot. And I wanted to thank you all for an amazing conversation today. And I hope that we can come together again on this topic kind of as things progress and more folks get systems and more experience with their systems. And I would love maybe to have a separate session at some time, whether it's a training or just a sideline conversation about how many of you coordinate this all with partners, because I feel like that's a completely different skill set unto itself, right? Like just how you manage the flow in and out, days where people, you know, need extra space, how you're reaching out to other partners. I feel like that's kind of untapped conversation right there that we definitely would love to have as a follow-up. I wanted to say quick, we are taking August off from our food security community calls. Those of you in Montgomery County know that our Office of Food Systems Resiliency is working to kind of look about the future of food security programs in the county. And we are going to be assisting with helping out with some listening sessions with that. So we have some other opportunities to convene that are going to be taking up a lot of our time and resources over the rest of the summer and early September. So we're going to shift our focus there. But we will see you all again in September. I wanted to thank all of the speakers today, everyone from the Prince George's County Food Equity Council, and for your food assistance providers from Prince George's for joining us today. Really a great call, and look forward to seeing you all again real soon. Again, all of this, a recording will go up on our YouTube page shortly, but you will get a link in our follow-up news resource email, which Julia will send to everyone who's not already on our distribution list. So one way or another, you will be seeing that. Thanks again so much. Have a great rest of your summer, folks.
Thanks, Anne Marie.
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your vacation, Anne Marie, if
Oh,
that's possible.